Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rehman, live from our Islamabad studios. Viewers, today is the 28th of May. Now, this particular date holds a lot of significance. Almost 23 years ago in 1998, on the 28th of May, Pakistan conducted the nuclear tests, successful nuclear tests. And that was the day when we actually became the first Muslim power to be a nuclear power. And that is perhaps the reason why the sovereignty of Pakistan has never been challenged by any country. For example, I'll take the name like India for that matter. So this is the minimum deterrence that we have always kept to make sure that the enemy should think twice before any plan of action. Now this is something very important. And Youm-e-Takbeer, as we call it, it's being observed today to commemorate the historic nuclear tests Pakistan conducted on this day in 1998. The nuclear explosions, which were conducted in self-defense to respond to India's aggression of nuclear tests, made Pakistan's defense invincible. As a result, Pakistan became the first nuclear power in the Muslim world and 7th in the world. 23 years ago on this day, Pakistan restored balance of power in the region by successfully establishing credible minimum nuclear deterrence. Armed forces and the nation pays tribute to all those involved in making this dream come true, stated by the Director General ISPR. Now, to talk about this and the importance of this particular day and the reason behind these tests, we have with us, on my right is Yasir Janjua Saab. He needs no introduction, as a senior analyst and a regular guest in our show. So thank you so much, Asab. And we have with us Syed Muhammad Ali. He is the Director, Strategic Affairs, CASS. Thank you so much, Ali. And we'll also be talking to Dr. Maria Sultan Saiba, who is the President of Sasi University. But let me put this first question, Yasir Saab. 23rd of May, I exactly remember 1998. There was joy, everybody was celebrating as if it was Eid or something of that sort. And not only the celebrations were in Pakistan, but a lot of Muslim countries, including Saudi Arabia, they all celebrated because Pakistan became the first nuclear power. Now, sir, your memory of that particular day.
I have a very different memory, as I was just telling you. I have a unique honor to be from the regiment which was called in especially second time to guard the nuclear assets. First time in 1979, the Sherdil regiment that I was commissioned in was called in to protect Kahuta, and the second time in 1998, by stroke of good luck, we were stationed in Quetta when this emergency was declared that India has detonated and we need to go in, or we were called in, and we were not allowed to go into the inner perimeter because that was Pakistan's nuclear assets are completely secure from anybody. Good. But we are still proud that we were guarding the outer perimeter, and at one stage our Jawans were also involved in the tunnel work which had to be expedited. So I'm very proud that we are those guardians of that nuclear site, and when it all happened there, our regiment was there. But besides that, as a nation, Pakistan told the Indians that if this nuclear capability we had in 71, they would not have looked with those dirty eyes at us. Come 1998, they thought that on the 11th of May 1998, when they detonated the nuclear device, they thought they had taken an edge over Pakistan like never before. What they did not realize that Pakistanis were always ahead of the game. And in 2 weeks' time, we told them we were better than them. And their devices were not as good as, this was declared, officially accepted by the world, that our devices detonated properly. And I don't want to go into those details, those technical details, but the fact remains, the only Muslim nation, and that is why everybody looks up to us. And that day onwards, India can dare not look at us. They tried once again, and Gulbashan Yadav was taken, and you know that is everything else is history. So it's a very proud moment in our history, and it's not one man show. You can't really say this particular man is the father of the nuclear policy.
Collective effort.
This was an effort by people whose names you don't even know. This is still the effort of the people in armed forces. who will never ever let anybody, when I mean to say anybody, hijack this. The Americans, the CIA, Mossad, RAW, everybody have failed. Alhamdulillah, and they will fail. And Pakistan's nuclear assets, they are the best. That is why we are the leaders. That is why we are the beacon of hope for everybody in the Muslim world. So we are very proud today.
And total indigenous.
And
work.
completely indigenous. Completely indigenous. It started when Dr. Abdul Khan came back to Pakistan and started this work, and then people like Dr. Samar Mubarak Mand, and then countless people who have been working on this program. And unfortunately, and I have to say this, and I am very proud, and I am saying this in complete authority, because Mr. Gohar Ayub Khan again comes from my regiment, and in one-on-one conversation, he said, and what I'm saying is not something which is not known to the public. He's written it in his book. The then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was not willing to detonate the bomb.
It was him, Sheikh Rashid,
Sheikh
one other.
Chaudhry Shujaat.
It was
Gohar Ayub, Sheikh Rashid, and Chaudhry Shujaat.
I think, sir, the former president of PMLN also, Raja Zafarul Haq.
Yes. So, and I was just yesterday hearing one of the interviews of Mushahid Hussain Saab, who's now back in Muslim League Noon, and he was saying, oh, Prime Minister said now or never. It's all bullshit, lies. That man, had the army not stood its ground, we would not have achieved this status. And I want to put this on record. Let the nation know this thing, that it was the Pakistan army and some of those politicians like Gohar Ayub, like Sheikh Rashid, and those people who stood in front of him and says, no, this is going to happen. You will have to do it. This is a matter of survival of our nation.
It's a do or die situation for us.
Because this was do or die. We were offered $5 billion by the United States. What would those
$5 billion? If Clinton was the president at that time.
Yes, he offered $5 billion. That's peanuts compared to what we have achieved today. And we have always been saying this is for peaceful purposes. This is for deterrence only. We will never do the first strike. But make no mistake, Pakistan is the only country which has the tactical nuclear weapons that can decimate India if it tries to make any mistake. And we'll do that.
And that
Let the Indians not be mistaken about it.
And they know
it will decimate the entire Indian population.
They know about it, and they know about it very well.
They know it very well. Our missile program and our nuclear program, they are shit scared of us.
And is one of the best in the world.
Alhamdulillah, this is the work of our scientists. This is the work of our technicians, that today we are proud and the nation can sleep well because we have a nuclear capability and deterrence that tells India. And inshallah, we'll see them in Srinagar one day when liberate Kashmir very soon.
Thank you, Faisal Saab. I think Janjua Saab has aptly, expressed the true sentiments and feeling of the Pakistani nation.
That's coming from the heart of a soldier.
Absolutely. And I think without any ado, it will not be inappropriate if I just categorically say that since independence, perhaps this was Pakistan's finest hour. What has this done to Pakistan? It has done 6 things to Pakistan. It has made the nation proud like nothing else. Secondly, it has made our foreign policy also confident. It has armed our diplomats with pride and confidence with their deal with the world in order to deter not just aggression but also coercion from major powers. In terms of defense, it has armed us with a credible minimum deterrence. And in terms of economy, it has added huge contribution in terms of improving the yield of our exports, our agriculture, particularly crops like NAP 78.
This K2 project, this K3 project.
Yeah, we are coming to that. So in terms of economy, it has contributed more than $3 billion in terms of foreign exchange revenue. The nuclear technology has improved the yield of our cotton crop. In terms of energy, it has provided us a mean which is regular, which is reliable, which is cost effective, which is environment friendly, in line with our Paris Treaty commitments and also in line with the international growing concern regarding global warming and climate change. In terms of health, the nuclear technology allows Pakistani people, over 1 million cancer patients are treated in over 18 hospitals run by Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission every year.
I recently had a meeting with the chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission.
Yes.
And we were surprised to know exactly what sort of work they are doing in the medical side or otherwise, sir.
Absolutely.
Agriculture.
So it's not just the defense and pride and honor and status, but also a
Multifaceted.
substantive and regular contribution towards our socio-economic development. So when you, even regarding food, not many people know that, but nuclear technology has helped preserve foods and also develop those types of fruit which are drought resistant, which are pest resistant, which are insect resistant. So this has done, basically it's a body of knowledge which allowed Pakistani people to discover its own talent. It is evidence that Pakistan, when Pakistan became the 7th nuclear power among over 119 nations, it's not just the material, the uranium is found in more than 40 countries. The reactors are run in almost 50 countries, but Pakistan is the first Muslim nation which mastered the entire fuel cycle. We have a very responsible, safe and secure program, and let me quickly compare it with our neighbors. And it is very important for your international audience to know that unlike India, which is led by an extremist ideologue and inspired by a very irresponsible and aggressive hatred-based ideology. So the nuclear command and control is in the hand of people who are not very stable and not very responsible towards other value systems. Secondly, their safety and security record is the poorest in the entire developing world. And thirdly, their nuclear posture is very aggressive and irresponsible. And when they try irresponsible actions like the Balakot strike, this is an evidence that no nuclear power can afford to tinker or fiddle with a responsible power like Pakistan, and they got a befitting response.
The next day.
So that's why the international community has a responsibility in the international peace and security to review its commitment, its cooperation with India, which is not just ideologically extremist, but very unsafe and secure nuclear program, and also very large nuclear arsenal. So this is a recipe for disaster, and they should review not just the exports and cooperation in nuclear technology with India, but also stop the support for their nuclear suppliers group membership.
Okay, that's very well said. Now, sir, another important area. Since Dr. Saab covered it so well, I mean, talking about the nation being so proud, the foreign policy issue, the defense issue, you talk about the agriculture side, the medical side, and so on and so forth. Now, sir, talking about the regional balance, do you believe, sir, the situation in 1998 and the situation in 2021, post 23 years, it has remained balanced? I mean, that equilibrium was there, or do you believe that the tilt is still towards India?
Now, I'll answer this, but I just have to add one more thing, augmenting his points about the irresponsible Indian state. What he covered was very well. Just one point. Only a few months ago, I think 2 months ago, uranium was stolen from India and then eventually caught. So I just wanted to bring it on point.
Not once,
so
it has happened before also.
So that is the kind of nation, that is the kind of nation.
And I calculated the amount, it was 3 crore Indian rupees per kg. That was the rate. Can you imagine?
That is the kind of neighbor you are faced with, who's got nuclear power or nuclear capability, and they can't control their uranium movement.
And if you compare it with Pakistani safety record, it is immaculate. It is respected and recognized by International Atomic Energy Agency, whose Director General has visited Pakistan and internationally appreciated it. We send our scientists and engineers to IAEA to help train scientists of other countries as well.
Imagine.
And
you're talking about a third world country like Pakistan doing so much.
So I think if
we are doing, which most of the first world countries aren't doing actually.
I think when because I don't want to get into the technicalities, but let me tell you, the world was shocked because the method and the technology we used to develop our nuclear deterrent surprised the world. They did not expect that Pakistan, a developing country, will be able to master this technology.
Before the Indian detonation, they exactly knew the space photographs and the videos, the satellite imagery was available that India is doing something here in that region. They couldn't still make out, but they actually reached the place. And ours was completely discreet. They could not find out until the last moment where we are going to do it. If they found out, they would have tried to sabotage it, because they would not stop Indians, but they would stop Pakistanis. However, coming to your point about the balance of power. Few months ago, you heard that on line of control, the Indian and the Pakistani DGMOs got into a hotline conversation and then agreed on a ceasefire and not to violate the ceasefire.
Correct.
That was done on the request of the Indians, because they now see that they're in a tight situation. After Pakistan becoming a nuclear power, after the nuclear capability of Pakistan, and repeatedly Pakistani missile tests becoming successful, and on the contrary, Indian tests failing and falling really, really close to their sights. So the world has seen, the Indians have seen that they are no match. So they, and events of last year, when they had a defeat, terrible defeat from the Chinese in Ladakh region, now the Indians see what they thought they could do. They could jeopardize CPEC, or they could jeopardize Gwadar with the terrorism activities in Pakistan, sending those terrorists like all those guys, the guy who's been caught, their spy, the Indian Navy commander, Gulbhushan Yadav, and all those things. Now the thing is, Indians now know that Pakistan is not the Pakistan of 1971, and East Pakistan, which was thousands of miles away, they took it away by deceit. They could not fight a war on the battlefront with us, and they did it by deceit. But this time round, with our nuclear capability, they cannot take, and for example, a lot of people have different views about it. Ask any one Indian, and I'm giving you a challenge, where is Kargil? Kargil was actually supposedly in the Indian occupied Kashmir. And I can tell you, if we reached Kargil, we will reach Srinagar one day as well. They can't deny that we were there sitting inside, and they couldn't do anything about it. Then they went begging to Bill Clinton, oh, please save our soul. So that's when
we
they
had
stopped
to withdraw.
Otherwise, our advance was not being stopped. So you're talking about balance of power.
Most of their soldiers would have been dead if he would have stayed there for another 3 weeks.
So they
Because
went
the
begging.
supply line was right down there.
So they went begging to the US, and then the US called Nawaz Sharif. Again, the single point that comes to my mind. Nawaz Sharif went there and came back with a bag full of disgrace for us, I'm sorry to say. Now the thing is, somebody who's sitting at the helm of affairs as the Prime Minister of the country, he shouldn't sell the country low. What would have happened? Maybe few hundred. In any case, the casualties in Kargil were less, our casualties were less than the Indians. Hundreds of more would have been killed or shaheed, but we still would have kept our pride had this man not been at the helm of affairs. So what I'm trying to say, we have maintained that capability of keeping keeping the initiative in our hands. So we have kept that initiative in our hands, and it's purely because of our nuclear capability. Had we not had that, we would not have had that initiative that now lies with us. We can call the shots because the world has to take us seriously. We are a nuclear power, as he also said. We are a responsible nuclear power, but nobody should take us for granted anymore, because we have the capacity that if you do something fishy with us, we're not going to sit and wait. We will respond, and we've made it amply clear. Army chief has made it clear. Successive military commanders have made it clear that we will not spare you. And this is why we are so confident today. And this is why, now that we have a responsible government as well, you see the GDP growth rate where it's going, you see the textile exports where they are going,
and
you
these
see the
numbers,
bumper
would be
wheat crop.
better in reality because of the grey area of economy. The actual numbers would be much more higher.
So, because there's a responsible government sitting here, and the military and the governments on one page, you see we are now coming out of those woods that they thought they had left us. They left us in the woods, and now we are coming out of them. So Alhamdulillah, we are very, very comfortable and safe today in our dominating position. We can dictate. Why do you think on the issue of, for example, a few days ago actually, our foreign minister went to New York, and eventually CNN had it to, there are so many Muslim countries.
Yes.
Why Pakistani foreign minister was there on CNN? Why not somebody else? Because Pakistan takes a leading role. It was the issue of Palestine, but it was the view of Pakistan that.
And remember, we are not from the Arab world either.
So we
are a South Asian country.
Yes,
a lot of Americans still mix us with the Arabs.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is, we have a very pivotal role to play in the Muslim world, and because of our nuclear capability, we retain that right to be given a right to give our voice and leadership role. And alhamdulillah, this is all because of our nuclear capability. Today, where we are in 23 years from 1998 is all because of that.
That's amazing. Yes. Now, Alisa, one more important area, and I really want you to throw light on that, and that is about the kind of name Pakistan is known for. Pakistan, I mean, when you go to America, or perhaps you go in the Bay Area of the West Coast, and they would know about Pakistan, and the couple of things they know about Pakistan is, one is about the mangoes, one is about the nuclear weapon as well. And then they would think that we all thought that Pakistan is somewhat like Afghanistan, and I used to tell them, no sir, it is a totally different country. We are educated, we speak English, we wear the same clothes. And Pakistan is a big country. Look at the population, look at the kind of PhDs we are producing. This is what we have done. Our Air Force is producing our own jets. And they would think, isn't it a third world country? I said, it is indeed. We'll get out of that bracket as well. But whatever we have achieved being a third world country, no other third world country can even think about it.
Very quickly, Faisal, because I think Jinjo Sahab gave a very comprehensive overview. I'll just add 3 points here. I think Pakistan's nuclear power, Pakistan's emergence as a nuclear power has given us confidence, it has given us security, it has also contributed to our socio-economic development. But quickly, what we need to do now that we are secure in terms of aggression from anybody, now that we have a credible deterrence, now we need to ensure that the gains we have made in terms of fighting terrorism are sustained and completely achieved. And anything that happens in Afghanistan and its blowback does not come to Pakistan. That's our first responsibility. Secondly, we need to focus on the socio-economic development. Because what is nuclear technology? It is a body of knowledge. When we used it responsibly, it helped us solve our security problem. It solved our defense problem. It helped us solve our economic, food, agriculture, health problem. So basically, when you master knowledge,
scientific development,
that's what you need to use the same approach. And one thing, let me use this opportunity, that it is a tribute that PTV and through your program I must pay to all the scientists and engineers and technicians who contributed in whatever manner or form to make us a nuclear power. We owe them a huge tribute, every single of them. That is very important. The military provided security, the politicians, and I'm not going to get into politics, but I think it's a sacred national responsibility. It's a sacred national trust that has evolved over decades, and thankfully it has been consistent, and thankfully domestic politics has not affected its trajectory and security. It is very important. आज 23 years after the Youm-e-Takbeer, we are much more confident. As a nuclear power, we have learned as well. We are not into the jingoism. We are not into chest thumping. Our adversaries recognize our capability and take us much more seriously. There is much more confidence in our diplomacy. Our posture is much more credible. Our delivery systems are much more advanced and diverse. We have a triad of land, air and sea-based delivery systems. So any irresponsible or immature attempt by our adversary to evolve its doctrine towards first strike will not work. It is not only incredible, it is also irresponsible and illogical. Because of the dispersal, security and elaborate triad, it is impossible for any country to attempt anything irresponsible. And it is very important for those people in India who understand Pakistan's nuclear posture to advise and warn their military leadership and political leadership that they should not try something irresponsible, because the consequences they will not be able to afford.
You remember, I was trying to add something to it. You remember a few years ago there was a concept that the Indians gave, the bloody cold start doctrine.
Yeah.
We gave them a slap in the face of tactical nuclear weapons.
Yes.
Your bloody cold start doctrine will give you a slap with those tactical nuclear weapons, and your cold start doctrine will go into the grave there and then. So they tried
it has already gone, I guess.
Yeah. So our tactical nuclear weapons, nobody could even imagine Nobody could imagine that we will develop those tactical nuclear weapons, and that was the answer to their cold start doctrine. Ask an Indian to talk about cold start doctrine, he'll start peeing in his pants now. Because we gave them not only the nuclear capability, eventually tactical nuclear weapon nobody could think that we will develop. We mastered it, not only developed it, we mastered it. Now today we can pinpoint a 10-kilometer area and say, okay, we could detonate only this area and annihilate this
Obviously,
area.
sir, if the Indians are thinking of penetrating inside Pakistan, so they have to assemble somewhere. They
So
cannot
we-
assemble, simple
yeah,
as that.
Because we have those tactical nuclear weapons. And alhamdulillah, they are safe. I am giving an open challenge. Nobody, alhamdulillah, Pakistan has come to stay till the eternity. No power, no intelligence agency has ever been able to and will never be able to come close to us, because it's in the safe hands of the Pakistan military.
Sir, as
It's
Qaeda
not
Hamdan
in the
said-
hands. It's not in the hands of anybody else. It's in the hands of those who take oath that they will safeguard the frontiers of Pakistan at any cost. We are giving up our lives. Our young men, officers of Jawan, are getting killed, but we are not going to be slack on our defense. And nuclear strike capability is the cornerstone of our defense. And alhamdulillah, and Indians know that, and they dare not do anything with us.
I was saying, as Qaeda Hamdan Jinnah said, no power can undo Pakistan.
Inshallah.
Simple as that. And I think this particular day, it was kind of a realization of the same code that actually now we have become powerful enough that no country can physically harm Pakistan. Obviously, the Indians, they went on to this new new kind of a warfare, which we call the hybrid war.
They can try
or
that even.
perhaps the non-kinetic warfare or the fifth generation warfare. I think now it's another challenge for us also, that we know what they are doing because they couldn't do anything otherwise. So they have used this technique to sort of destabilize the regions by targeting, certain non-state actors and advising them, financing them, arming them to carry out these notorious activities on our land, using the Afghan soil also. So I think that is another area where we really need to look into, and we are.
Absolutely, because like Janjo sir rightly pointed out, their military forces, their army, air force, navy, and also their strategic forces, they know very well that they have attempted to attack Pakistan, develop a doctrine from the Sundarji time, from the time of the Sundarji doctrine, then the brass tacks, then the cold start, and then the surgical strike, and you keep, what is the political intent? To attack Pakistan or to embarrass it internationally in order to symbolize that India has achieved hegemony in this region. But because of our quid pro quo plus approach, it is very important that they understand whatever they attempt, there will be a quid pro quo plus response. We will do one thing better. They learnt it even in case of swift retort, that we will give a befitting, timely, and also proportionate response at a time and place of our choice. We reserve that. We always maintain that strategic autonomy, that India, no matter what weapons they acquire, no matter what arsenal they have, will never be able to achieve. That is something, that is the strategic dilemma that their planners and thinkers face. That is why they resort to basically asymmetrical warfare, basically supporting insurgency, and because their conventional army, their professional armed forces, air force, navy, and army are no match to us in terms of professionalism, in terms of motivation, in terms of their commitment, in terms of their resolve. That is why they have resorted to indirect warfare basically. That's why we need to ensure that anything that happens in Afghanistan, the soil of Afghanistan should not be used against destabilizing Pakistan's economy, against hurting our CPEC, against hurting our border area, because India will try to fragment and disperse our capability in 4 fronts, on the eastern front, on the western front, in the internal front, and now thanks to the Indo-Pacific strategy towards the Indian Ocean as well, so that we are looking different in different directions. We are not able to concentrate our capability. So we have to see through this Indian game and try to deny them any gain and try to forge unity. And if there are any grievances, we must address them politically, economically. No, the cause that any adversary strategically attempts to exploit is bad governance. And let me respectfully slightly add, disagree with Janjua Saab, that military, no matter how professional, how committed you are, you cannot be a substitute for bad governance, for good governance. If you have good governance and there is socio-economic justice across the country, across all communities, ethnicities and nation, it will prevent the enemy to exploit the grievance. That brave people like him
part of that fifth generation warfare.
Then fight. So that is very important. That is why it is very critical for very close for a civil-military relationship. That we are proud and confident of our security forces, of our military, for their professionalism, for their commitment and their resolve. But as a Pakistani, I expect our civilian leadership, our civil service, our teachers, our industrialists, our banker, that everybody, let me just conclude that for Pakistan to become a power, it is important that we do not rely only on hard power. We must be a nation.
Soft power, smart power.
No, we should, when our bankers, when our teachers, when our industrialists, when our agriculturists, when our politicians, everybody in every walk of life is better, smarter, more committed, more hardworking than an Indian. That is when we as a nation will look them in the eye, so that we also save and pay respect to the blood and sweat of our soldiers and officers like Janjua Saab.
Yeah, Janjua Saab.
Yes. Sir, let me make a very distinct clarification. And the military leadership, the recent military leadership has said it in no certain terms that we do not deny that there have been mistakes made in the past. But we have come a long way from where we were many years ago. Today, the military leadership is completely subservient to the orders and instructions of the government of Pakistan.
Correct, sir.
And takes instructions and follows the directions. The good thing is that the military is providing that security. When the Chinese say we want the security of CPEC, the military is there for it.
You have raised
special technology zones are being created. Yes. Pakistan Army is there to make sure foreign companies come. We will provide the security. Today, the military is only providing and ensuring security so that the civilian leadership can do its job in the way it wants to do, and Absolutely. You are seeing the results. So yes, I am very confident in saying we might have made mistakes. Everybody is a human being.
Absolutely.
But as an organization, as an outfit, we've always been professional. Individuals could have done anything, and that too, today's military leadership is very clear about it. That we have no agenda and we are only taking orders from the government of Pakistan and doing what we are supposed to do, and they are doing what they are supposed to do. And the results are evident because they are providing that strategic depth that the government and the economic development needs and the security that the government needs. They're just doing that. They are doing their role. They are making sure that the borders are secure. The moment an Indian jet crossed into the Pakistani airspace, there was an airplane there to take it down. That is what our role is, and we know what our role is.
Sir, even during the Kargil war, since we're talking about it, Janjua Saab, I still remember, I think one was a MiG-27, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it was
and then there was another two
MiG-21 and MiG-27.
MiG-21 and MiG-27,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And they were shot down by our soldiers.
And we also captured the pilot as
guns.
Well. Yes.
So this was the kind of spirit, and they had to think twice.
Yes. So what I was saying was, yes, there is no excuse for the military to come into the power. However, we are not going to go into the history why that happened. That's a complete separate debate. Today's military leadership is completely on board with the government of Pakistan, that the government of Pakistan takes the leading role in the development, The foreign policy is dictated by the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, and that's what the military is doing, is just towing the line, what they are being told to do. And that is why you see that we are being respected everywhere. That is why you see the peace and prosperity. That is why you see that the Americans realized that the Afghan peace cannot take place without Pakistan being on the table. They cannot avoid and ignore Pakistan today in the solution of Afghan problem. And they know it, and everybody knows it, that India is a spoiler on Afghan peace, because they don't want our western border to be secure, so that we remain engaged there, and that is what is not in their interest. That's why even today you find that India keeps doing something and which is blamed on Taliban. No, why would the Taliban be interested in peace? By the way, now that the Americans are leaving, the Afghan government military soldiers are actually surrendering to the Taliban, because they know it.
They will be taking over soon.
So they know it, but these are the.
But I mean, that
but
is
we are going to deviate from our topic today.
What really worries me is, what about the equipment they leave behind? What about the bases? I mean, they've spent $1 billion on certain bases.
Let me tell you.
But that is a separate,
that's a separate topic. But quickly, just today, if you read New York Times, there's a very interesting story that in the last 4 weeks alone, from 1st May to 28th May, 26 bases have been vacated in 4 provinces where there is hardly any fighting, and they have given up because Afghan National Army has realized they have got their back towards the wall, and there is no incentive for them to fight Afghan Taliban. And
who is going to finance Afghanistan once the Americans leave? That is another huge
and not just that,
for them.
actually they have developed a very interesting, according to New York Times, they have developed a very interesting committee which goes for peace and economic incentives. They give $130 per soldier, and then they videotape his statement and identifies all their family. There is an expressed commitment that they will not raise arms, and then they are allowed to go. And that's how they are disarming and isolating Kabul. So it's a brilliant strategy, actually.
Yeah.
So but I wanted to come back from Afghanistan to India. Indian Foreign Minister said that Pakistan is doing infiltrations into India.
Yeah, that was.
If we were doing it, why did the Indian DGMO came begging to our DGMO for ceasefire on the line of control? The question is, India is always trying that. India did that in 1971, sent in Mukti Bahani into the East Pakistan and caused the division of Pakistan. They tried it in Afghanistan, they failed it. They are trying it in Balochistan, they are failing it, because they can only fight a war by deceit. They cannot fight and win a conventional war. I am challenging them. They should come and fight with us, and they will know. We were poorly armed in 1965. We were poorly armed in 1948, and we still gave them a miserable defeat.
As they say, where there is a will, there is a way. So the will was there, and we showed it.
It's the Indians who cannot fight, and that's what they do. That's what they've been trying to do in Afghanistan. That's what they've been trying to do in Balochistan. They think they can take away Balochistan from us. That's sadly mistaken. They're sending in those dissidents with the bags full of dollars, and they think they can take away the Balochis. Balochis are more nationalist than any Punjabi on this soil. I'm a Punjabi, and I'm claiming it on this table.
Yes, sir.
Balochis,
yes.
I've served in Balochistan. They are more loyal to the country than any other Punjabi.
They are very proud people. They're very
proud people.
They are the
and
most
Indians
proud
think
people.
they can divide us by doing that.
No way.
They cannot.
On Kashmir, just a quick point I just want to add, and I think it will be useful for your viewers to know, that you should see through the Indian game by trying to shift attention because where was Dr. Jaishankar speaking? He was speaking at Stanford University's think tank Hoover Institute. So he is trying to again put the spotlight on the alleged crossing by some individuals, which is not a reality. It is very important for me to clarify that Foreign Office has categorically said there is no crossing of LOC. Number one, the real issue is not that. The real issue is the oppression and the tyranny of the people who are living in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And the Indians are strategically trying to shift the debate and attention away from that. Why? Because of the United Nations Human Rights Commission's resolution yesterday tabled by Pakistan. They are trying to preempt an environment in which gradually the situation and the international attention will shift from Palestine to Kashmir, because they are doing exactly, they are following the script the manual of the Israelis. So they are worried, they are trying to preempt it by trying to shift the debate before it comes to haunt them, because if Israel, with all its influence and deep pockets, could not shift the debate from the world media, obviously the Indians cannot do better than that. So, and they are really worried, and that is why knowledgeable anchors like you and channels like PTV World should continue to expose the Indian brutalities in Kashmir, so that they know the reality. The real issue is that.
Last quick, because I was just told that we're running out of time, but quick comment, 30 seconds each. So talking about the second strike capability, because Indians always say and say it very proudly that we have the second, now we also have the second strike capability.
Yes.
Is that a correct statement?
Yes, that's Pakistan has a short second strike capability.
We have a very, very potent second strike capability. Make no mistake about it, Indians. we will sort you out. Try us once. Anyway, it's an open challenge.
Gentlemen, once again, I'll congratulate you on this very historic day, which is the 28th of May. Youm-e-Takbeer, and thank you very much for being here, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
To talk to you on this particular issue. Anyway, that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you inshallah on Monday. Till then, you take good care of yourself. Khuda Hafiz.